I am live, yes. All right, what's going on, A2D Nation? What's up? It's the Strike Zone. Matt Downing here. Well, at least the Phillies are finally giving us something good to talk about. I have a positive show, very exciting show tonight. Can't wait to talk about the Phillies. Finally exciting, winning, starting to hit. It's a beautiful thing right now for the Phillies. So let's get into tonight. Okay, I just had the thing. Here we go. Yeah, so obviously the offense finally started getting it's hitting season. It's hitting season, right? The offense is going. This weekend against the Nationals, finally got the bats going and carrying into last night against the Tigers, and also tonight it seems with Schwarber. Once again, it's Schwarberfest. It's definitely Schwarberfest. So leading off the game with a home run tonight. Great start for the Phillies again. So the Phillies are going to look to keep it rolling against the Tigers, and just looking ahead too, and what the offense, hopefully this can finally start to build some positive momentum and get the Phillies climbing out of the gutter here. So like I said, with the when it's June and the Phillies start to hit, who's leading the charge, and it's Kyle Schwarber right now, and did it again tonight. So looks like June, we're in full swing right now. It's Schwarber Fest at Wawa again. So perfect timing, like clockwork. This guy always hits in June, and it looks like we're going to see it again. And that's going to be big for the Phillies, going forward, obviously, with Kyle Schwarber getting going here because he has been absolutely atrocious for the most part to start this season. And, are we on the verge of another June Schwarber Fest? And really the big thing I want to know tonight, even if Schwarber gets going during Schwarber Fest, should Schwarber, here we go again, right? Should Schwarber be in the leadoff spot going forward? Even with Trey looking like he's ready to figure it out, do you guys think that, do you agree or disagree that if Schwarber gets hot and if he does his typical June Schwarberfest, play, then I guess he should still be in leadoff spot, right? Let's get into that tonight because I'm not ready to hand over the reins. I need to see a lot more right now, but we'll get into that tonight with Schwarber, and then Ranger Suarez pitched great again. Really important because with the way that everybody has seemed to be struggling every other start, with Ranger putting together really two good solid starts in a row. Very critical for the Phillies that he gets going and he can reestablish himself as the number 3 starter. We're going to get looking into why I think that Ranger is definitely on the right track and definitely looking at a good season to come for him again as well. And then, of course, when we're talking about good seasons for the Phillies right now, nobody's having a better season than Nick Castellanos right now, right? I mean, by far the Phillies' best hitter this season. This is the guy we envisioned. This is who we thought we were signing when we signed him 2 off seasons ago for that 5-year, $100 million contract. This is the Cincinnati guy that we saw the year before, who we thought we were getting, and he is playing absolutely lights out, leading the team right now, and playing like an all-star, right? I mean, there's no other way to say it right now with him. We're going to get into his numbers and why Nick absolutely has to be in the all-star game this year. So, and of course, we'll finish off with the fantasy starts and sits of the week, including a guy that I mentioned earlier in the year, but now he is coming into his own right now. He is just absolutely dominating. It's a guy that we need to start paying attention to now that we've gotten to June. So I'll get into that later, and let's get into tonight's show, guys. All right, so let me see here. All right, so a little technical difficulty, it looks like, with the video here. All right, okay. All right. Well, little technical difficulty with the video. But that's okay. But you guys know the whole thing. I could scream right now, but don't want to. I just ate not too long ago, so yeah, and yes. Welcome tonight, guys. Yeah, big day for the Flyers too, right? I know. I know this is a Philly show, but definitely, yeah, we can make light on the Flyers here real quick. With big trade for Provorov today, getting a first-round pick back and a couple picks and a couple players. I'm not too versed. I know we got another first-round pick for this draft, so that's the big one in the Provorov trade. But yeah, it sounds like also, yeah, Flyers fan 1995. Yeah, it sounds like Carter Hart's about to be next. And Danny Briere saying that the Flyers are open for business. Then we should definitely, we got to see what the Flyers. I mean, they got so many things that they need to I mean, they need talent, right? There's such a barren minimum of talent on the Flyers right now that this is this is what we've been waiting for a while right now. This is a total rebuild. The Flyers need to do it, and hopefully they can do that, and that would be great to see what they can get for some of these guys, and look forward to the future, right? Because I mean, this we knew the Flyers, they haven't been going anywhere for the last couple seasons, especially after this year. I mean, it was just I couldn't even we couldn't even watch it, right? I mean, it was the Flyers were really unwatchable, and especially watching the Stanley Cup right now. The way the Golden Knights play, I mean, and of course the way the Panthers have played all through the playoffs, it's absolutely incredible how much better these Stanley Cup teams are compared to the Flyers. The Flyers are not in that category, not even close. So, big day for the Flyers. Hopefully, big offseason awaits them. I think it's definitely going to be, it's definitely long overdue for them. And with Danny Briere, obviously, and Keith Jones running the show now for the Flyers, obviously, Flyer guys, Danny Briere, I grew up with watching, during those teams, my goodness gracious, back in the, late 2000s, early 2010 there, obviously, when they went to the Cup with that team. Gosh, he was so great to watch, and, clutch player too, Danny Briere was. And hopefully he can transfer that over to being a GM, because it's a totally different gig, obviously, but he gets what it's like to be a Flyer. And and the Flyers have typically kept with that. So hopefully they can keep that going, and they can figure it out and get some players. So welcome guys. Rob, what's going on? Yeah, thanks. Agree to the poll. Okay, yeah. So I mean, well, hey, right? I mean, this is where Schwarber makes his bread and butter. So I'm going to get into that tonight, definitely for sure. But just let's get into the Phillies, obviously, with finally looking like they're starting to turn the page, right? Like, I was super positive going in that Brave series last week, right? Like, I wanted them to win that series, but when you throw Dylan Covey out against Spencer Strider, that's really not going to happen. So, they split with the Braves, and of course, that Mets series we won't even talk about. That was brutal. So brutal. And, we know how bad that was. So, that is what it is. And our struggles with the Mets, that's for another show. I'll save that for another time when we get back to playing the Mets again. But it's definitely a problem that the Phillies really need to figure out going forward here the rest of the way. And but now coming into the national series, that national series, right? Like, losing those first two games, and Wheeler getting just absolutely lit up after going from 8 innings shutout against the Braves to getting absolutely torched by the Nationals. I mean, it's just like, that's been the theme of the Phillies starting pitching all year long, right? I mean, it's just like totally just one start looked great, and then the next start absolutely looked like trash. And that's why the Phillies record is what it is right now, because you can't win with that inconsistency. As I've said many times, the Phillies, they're so consistently inconsistent. It's just incredible. But hey, now, as Charlie Manuel used to say, we're coming into hitting season, right? And finally, the Phillies offense and the guys that we are expecting to be carrying this offense are finally starting to contribute, and they are finally starting to look like the guys that we expect them to be, the all-star caliber players that we have littered throughout the top of our lineup. And most importantly, so obviously getting into the game last night, right? Like, obviously the biggest thing last night, of course, was Trey Turner. 4 for 5, 2 home runs, 2 solo home runs, just hitting the ball hard every time. Should have gone 5 for 5. He got robbed by Nick Maton there at the end. Right, hit a nice, Maton made a nice play, and obviously had a nice hit for the Tigers as well. Classic Aaron Nola, right? I mean, that is, like, I was talking to my buddy today, Cole, and he, we were saying, like, just like last night was classic Aaron Nola, right? Only Aaron Nola could be throwing a no-hitter, right? I mean, and shout out to Aaron Nola, though. He pitched a fantastic game, and the Phillies finally gave him some, run support, which was nice to see. But yeah, of course, just classic Aaron Nola, just the two guys on, and it was like, should have probably had gotten out of that inning. And then, of course, Nick Maton just pimps the bat. And that was, hey, but, guess, Maton, hey, I no hate to Maton, obviously got traded to a way worse team, lesser team than, what he had going on last year here. And, was probably not too happy about getting traded, but, is what it is. It was, unfortunate that Aaron Nola, of course, he's just like, try and just get 7 shutout innings, but then of course to get the 3 runs back onto his ERA there, it's just rough. And of course you just Aaron Nola, man. I mean, come on, dude. I mean, just every time you just expect him to just finally get through a blemish-free start. He does that at the end, and it's just unfortunate because he's done it so many times. But yeah, I can't. You could have been surprised when that happened. But really big thing I think was the Phillies, the way they responded that inning. That was the thing. Like I think the biggest takeaway from the game last night, like after Nola gives up that 3-1 homer, it's 5-3, right? And like honestly, at that point, like I'm not really feeling that comfortable. Like I don't think anybody's at this point is feeling comfortable that even when the Phillies have a lead, a 2-run lead, like. That's not something I feel comfortable with yet because the team has not showed that they can consistently win when they have a lead, or even like obviously we know their struggles coming back this year. But even with the lead, like the bullpen, like I'm still not with Alvarado out. I'm still not. I'm still not in love with the bullpen. Like Dominguez looked good. Sir Anthony finally looked good last night. He had good velocity last night. That was great to see. And yeah. So, gosh, what the heck. Still allergy season. Sorry about that. Is what it is. But what's going on, Jack? Yeah. Oh, time for that poll question. Agree. Yeah, exactly. Right. Seriously. Yes. Thank you. Yeah. It couldn't have been better. So thank you. Shout out to Schwarber for helping me look good tonight with that. So, but I think the biggest takeaway from the Phillies game last night was like the way after they get down after they're up 5-3, after that happens, it's like, okay, need to get some insurance runs because 2 runs just, you don't feel good. Like the Phillies have had so many problems this year, obviously, getting more than 5 runs in a game. It seems like that's always been like the benchmark. Like, my God, like it seems like it's such a struggle so much of the time for this team just to get 5 runs. And it's like when you have all-stars all littered throughout this lineup, why has it been such a struggle for these guys to get going? And of course, we know the struggles of Trey and JT and Schwarber. We know all these guys, that have been struggling. But like those 3 guys I just mentioned, all 3 of them right now over the course of the last 4 games are finally starting to hit. And I think, we have to highlight obviously with what Trey did last night. And also too, and we're going to get, and obviously I'm going to get into Schwarber, next, but, and JT also too. JT, this was like, this is like deja vu, right? With the Phillies this year, right? Starting off, same way basically last year, couldn't hit for crap. Pitching sucks. In a hole, under 500 around the 60 game mark. Obviously, they made the change with, hiring Rob last year. That was never, of course, that's not going to happen this year. So it's on these players to turn it around. And the way that they finally starting to respond, because it was after that Mets series. You can't get worse than that. There's nowhere to go. You can't go lower than what they did in that Mets series. Literally, as a team, that was one of the worst series I've seen the Phillies play in years. That was literally, that's one of those ones that's going to stick out to me for a while. In terms of how bad they looked. And it was just, you just didn't want to watch them after that, right? Just why? This team just didn't look like they cared, but you just know, like we obviously what we saw last year in the playoffs, like this team has that capability. And it just, I don't know why it takes them it seems like every year it takes them to just dig themselves in a hole that they got to climb out of. And then they just got to basically force themselves to start playing good. It just seems like a Philly recipe. It's like a classic Philly sports team, recipe for trying to win. And it drives you nuts. It gives you heart attacks like so often. And just that's why I think we're so bent up rage because we have so much anger to start the year every year. But then, we got to get it going. And then by the time the playoffs roll around, you just got to get in and anything can happen. So, but yeah, over the last 4 games, great to see for the Phillies to finally start to turn it around. Trey Turner, obviously, like he needs to get it going. And with last night, 7 home runs on the season now, second most on the team, honestly, actually with Nick, tied with Nick, who I'll get into as well later. But like Trey, obviously, like Trey's going to figure it out. Like I've said all along, like this guy has been one of the best hitters in baseball the last 4 years. Like if you are not familiar, which a lot of Phillies fans I don't think are just have not watched Trey Turner because he hasn't been like he's not one of the big name guys. He's never been like a Bryce Harper or Trout or Acuna or like one of those guys that like you're always looking at a team to watch. Even on the Dodgers, like you're looking at Mookie over him last year, right? When Freddie Freeman got there, everybody was Freddie and Mookie. I think were the 2 guys that you were going to look at over Trey, even though Trey was there, and he still was starting shortstop all-star last year as well. That a career high with 100 RBIs. So Trey Turner is going to be the guy that I think is going to turn around this year. And like similarly what Nick Castellanos did with what happened to him last year and what he's now doing this year, like Trey Turner, like I don't think he's going to have a full season where he's going to be slumping like this, because this guy is just too good a hitter to be doing that. Like it's all like, you can just tell so much with Trey, it's all been mental. Like, I mean, I don't know why it's always a Philly thing with these guys that come here and just have such a mental block now. And like the pressure, really, I think it's just such a thing. I think there's so much built up with Trey coming, knowing that he's coming into Philly and the hype with him and Bryce. I mean, it is a lot for a guy to deal with. Like, we as fans, we can say that all we want. We can talk about these guys, we can say all we want about them not coming through and performing, but yeah, like to consistently do it on that stage is, something that very, very few guys can actually do. And he's one of them. So, and he's done it very well for years on end now. So yeah, and he's going to be with us for the rest of his career. So this is just, I think we're going to look back at this and we're not even going to remember this, by the time that Trey Turner's done as a Philly. So Trey is, let's hope he gets going now. It's June. Phillies, it's hitting season. Let's get these guys going. JT, another guy, also famously, usually starts off pretty slow to start the year. Obviously, we know what happened last year. I mean, he couldn't hit out the freaking infield last year, especially in May. And then after he wasn't allowed to go to Toronto, we come back. And then from that point on, he was just a different player. Definitely our best player in July and August. So that's a guy and was it a terrible slump? I mean, we talk about Schwarber, his batting average, and what Trey obviously was what they've been doing. But JT was 3 for 43 before his last 3 games. Like, I mean, he wasn't hitting anything. But until that Nationals series on the weekend, when he finally hit home runs in back-to-back games, great center field, just great, nice swings that he put on the ball. And it was just great to see. So I really think that JT now, and coming through last night, 5-3, down, we're up 5-3. Keep saying we're down. We were up 5-3. But JT getting that clutch 2-run double, stealing third base, and then scoring as well. You just all in one at bat just completely changes the rest of the game. And after that, that we were winning that game. Then it was like, once these, if this team can just start to hit consistently, it doesn't have to be one guy every night. Right? It's just Trey last night obviously, was the standout, but JT, Nick, all these guys, everybody just contributing in different ways. I mean, Schwarber walking 3 times, getting on base 3 times. I mean, all these guys, and Sosa obviously playing well. But this is what they need to all start hitting together. And this is the time that they usually start doing it. And we're starting to see that, right? So hopefully they can continue this into June, because let me pull up their schedule here, because I'll just take a quick look here. Looking forward to the Phillies, with the Phillies season, because I know we got the Dodgers coming up here next. So obviously the Tigers, we got to beat the Tigers, right? This is a team we got to beat up on. But going forward, we got to start hitting, because we got the Dodgers and the Diamondbacks next, the 2 top teams in the NL West. And luckily we're home with the Dodgers, and then we go away out west for a road trip with the Diamondbacks and the A's, of course. So that the A's, God bless the Rays. I mean, the A's. So the Phillies, this is the perfect series to get it going, right? The Nationals Tigers, these Nationals Tigers series, these are the teams you got to beat, right? And obviously with the Phillies, the way they put the hurt on the Nationals the last couple of years, it's just been absolutely what the Mets have done to us. So they got to start beating up on these bad teams, right? They got to start winning series. They got to start winning these series, not not blowing the last game of the series every single time. They got to put a run together here, and because you got to get back to 500. I mean, you just can't hover around this point going into the trade deadline. I mean, this is a team that should be contending. I mean, this is ridiculous. So, we're not going to overreact. Obviously, this is only 4 games here, because we know the Phillies we know how quickly after a win streak they can go on a losing streak, which they have shown to do many times already. They've done that this year multiple times. So I really hope that they can continue to hit here, because this offense is really going to, the offense is what's going to have to carry us this year. Because last year, the pitching was so much better last year, and with the starters, I just, even with, I want to say Zach, I want to give it to Zach Wheeler. Like, I love Zach Wheeler, but after that last game, you just don't know what these guys are going to do. You cannot rely on any one of our starters right now to go out there and consistently give you innings. They're going to give you innings, but at this point, it's just, I don't know. You know what I mean? It's just, I don't know if they're going to be able to continue this. Sorry, I'm going to put my phone on silent here. I'm doing a show. Sorry. But anyway, so there we go. All right. Anyway, lost my train of thought. But yeah, so the Phillies got to continue to they got to continue to hit. So, and the guy that is going to have to continue to hit and is really going to have to start hitting, which he seems to be, is Kyle Schwarber. And as like I said, it's June, and this is the time that Schwarber just completely turns into a different player. It's absolutely mind blowing what Schwarber has done in June. It's just one of those weird things that you can't really understand, like why this guy just every single year continually just continues to destroy in the month of June. But it looks like that's where we're at. So, like, obviously with Schwarber going into the season, right? Like, there was an interesting thing actually I read today. Yes, speaking of Schwarber, so this could be a reason as to why Schwarber maybe has started off so poorly this year. And this is a problem with the Phillies that I'm starting to have. Very much so. But so I was able to get this today from my buddy. He's got the Athletic, but Matt Gelb wrote over at the Athletic today. He said that, which is very interesting, earlier in the season, Schwarber played through an undisclosed knee ailment that no one from the team would publicly acknowledge. When asked numerous times to detail the issue, Schwarber declined. Privately, team officials acknowledged it hampered Schwarber, and it's why the Phillies were attempting to hide him as the designated hitter before Bryce Harper returned. But Schwarber's defensive issues have obviously persisted. And the Phillies will not rush Harper's move to first base because his reconstructed elbow is at greater risk of throwing than swings, of course. The Phillies, they obviously benefit to have Harper at first with Schwarber as the DH. So that I just find very, very, very fascinating that once again, obviously with Andrew Painter, we know exactly what we know exactly what, we know pretty much nothing. And that was one of the more frustrating things that I think was the most frustrating part, especially for me for the Phillies offseason. I was so excited for Andrew Painter, the hype that was around this guy. And really when he went down and just, we didn't hear anything for a month. We just had no info on what was going on with him. And just the way that they were coy about, like, they were so discreet about that, with the info on him. And like, obviously we just had to wait so long to find out any information on what was going on with Painter. And now, and even with Castellanos, right? What do we hear about Ned Castellanos later in the year last year, after the season last year? Oh, apparently he had a wrist problem back in May, right? And that apparently affected him, why he, just went on an absolute slump after April, when he actually had a decent April. But then, couldn't hit after that and just really struggled the rest of the season. But apparently there was a wrist problem. So, but nothing was said about that. Nothing was ever mention about that. Andrew Painter, we really haven't had a lot to go on with that. Rob, yeah, nice, bud. But yeah, and now we have this with Schwarber. It's kind of becoming a pattern with the Phillies where, guys are having injuries and we're not hearing about it. And that's going to be that's something I'm going to talk about later. That's something for another time. And I think I'll probably say that for next week, because I'll probably get back to the injuries and especially with Jacob deGrom today. And obviously horrible to hear for Jacob deGrom, Tommy John surgery, done for the year, just once again for the poor guy. It's been his career at this point, right? It's sad, and some guys just can't escape the injury bug. And yeah, it's just terrible for him. But once again, that's obviously his injury history is well documented, but here we go again with, pitcher injuries. So that'll be for another show. But yeah, with Schwarber, now we're having some thoughts on the Rangers news. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, obviously, in the Rangers, the way they've been playing, they're the way they've been playing this year. I mean, all the money that they've spent over the last two off seasons. I mean, it's somewhere like $1 billion, close to $1 billion or some 800 million something dollars that they've spent over the last two off seasons, in terms of future contracts that they've handed out. But yeah, they're number one team in the AL West right now, and they're playing absolutely phenomenal baseball. Their offense, top 10 all time through this point in terms of run differential. To start a season right now for the Rangers. Like the run differential is like plus 153 or something like that right now. It's gonna take me too long to pull up the stat, but it was like 150, like their run differential is right now. It's absolutely insane. So yeah, they've been killing it right now. But yeah, going back to Schwarber, right? Like, so okay, so starts off the year apparently hurt. But now, it's we all know how bad his batting average is, right? It's 171. His start to the season has been absolutely horrible. Really, there's no other way to describe it. I mean, and especially, of course, now let's get into the topic tonight that I really want to get into, right? With the poll question. Should Schwarber be in the leadoff spot going forward? Obviously, we know my thoughts from last time when he was put in the leadoff spot during that Dodgers series, and it went about as bad as it could possibly go when you go 0 for 19, right? And just the Phillies, of course, were in an absolute slump at that point. He got taken out of that spot because you just cannot have a guy when you're hitting in the 160s being in your leadoff spot. I mean, there's just no analytics. There's no numbers that you can point to where a guy is able to be in the leadoff spot, batting 160. It's just not happening. So, so that's just not happening. But now Schwarber's back in leadoff spot, right? Because, hey, it's June now. Phillies were struggling. All right, let's put him back in his favorite spot because, as much as I hate to see Schwarber in the leadoff spot because he's just not a leadoff hitter. When a guy is batting 200, near 200 for his career, and like you're putting him in the leadoff spot consistently, like that's something like I really just don't care for. Like I don't care. Like, I mean, obviously tonight, which is just so funny, of course, leadoff home run, of course, right? Tonight, which, obviously great. Love to see get him on the board to start the game. But like, I much rather see him hitting those 3-run homers, right? Like against the Nationals, like later on in the game. Like I want to see guys on base for him because all Schwarber needs is one swing to change the game. That's all that guy needs. I mean, there's very few guys that have the power that Kyle Schwarber has. I mean, that's why he's able to hit 40 home runs a year, because he just has that type of power. And he's been doing it for the last couple of years now, for a long time now. But really, over the last couple of years, he's become, and of course, last year leading the National League with 46 home runs last year. But of course, so many of those coming in the leadoff spot, and 38 of them in the regular season being solos. I have a huge problem with that. Like, I can't see him going forward. Like, if he's going to go this month, right? All right, so put him in the leadoff spot, and he's hitting leadoff every time. So obviously, in that Nationals game, hitting from the leadoff spot, 2 3-run homers, right? 2 home runs, 6 RBIs. Well, that's not something that happens for him that often. The last time he had 6 RBIs in a game was in 2019. So that's a long time ago, right? Like, that's not, Schwarber is not a guy that usually gets RBIs, which is the biggest thing that you just can't wrap your head around with Schwarber. But then you realize, well, he's batting in the leadoff spot most of the time. And so many of his at-bats, he doesn't have guys on. And that's something I just don't want to see again. I don't want to see that going forward. We have better players this year, guys that we didn't have last year. Like Stott was not able to hit leadoff last year, right? Like he's obviously able to right now. He's batting 285. He's been probably the second best hitter on the Phillies so far this year. Like we're not talking about Stott a lot. Like he doesn't have the home run numbers, obviously, but the way that Bryson's been playing, he's been playing phenomenal this year, and his defense has been absolutely great. Oh, good. Hey, Tejan doing good. Yeah, I saw he struck out the side in the first inning. And then, of course, I saw Schwarber's home run right before I came up for the show. So that's awesome. But yeah, nice. Yeah. Star Wars boy. Hey, yeah, Skywalker. Nice. Very nice, bud. Good. Well, I'm not going to jinx the other comment because I said something last night and I shouldn't have. And then, things happen. And then, yeah, so there you go. But yeah, good. Walker doing good. Very good to see because, yeah, he's obviously, I've documented his struggles to start this year. And he's been one of the worst starting pitchers in terms of ERA this year so far, in terms of ERA and innings pitched. So, yeah, we need obviously him to pitch way better than he has because we know he can. And yeah, he's just got to all these guys have got to turn around with the starting pitching. But yeah, like once again, going back to Schwarber in the leadoff spot, like he's done like, and it's well documented too. Like he loves the leadoff spot. Like that's just a place where he likes to bat. I don't think really, I mean, honestly, it gets into the point in the game, like as long as you're batting in the top half of the order, like to get the, obviously you want the guys at the top, they get the most at bats throughout the, out the game. But yeah, with Schwarber, like I want him in the spot where he gives me the best chance to maximize his value, right? Like, and that's like in the fifth spot, like that's where he really should be. I still think he should go back to that spot at some point, especially if Trey Turner starts hitting here, then that's a guy you start, maybe Trey you put in the leadoff spot, right? Because if that's a guy like Trey's the leadoff hitter, right? Like Trey is a prototypical leadoff hitter. Like that's where he's going to do his most damage when he's on, because he can hit, like when Trey Turner's on, he's going to hit to all fields. He gets on, use his speed. He's been a stolen base guy for his entire career. He's top, I think he's like top 2 in most stolen bases over the last 4 years. So this is a guy that has elite speed. We know that about Trey. And that's the spot I want to see him where we can maximize his value the most, in the leadoff spot or the 2 spot. Like I'd much rather see the guys, and especially with the speed too. Like that's really the big thing. Like I want the guys that make sense. Like, and this is the lineup that makes the most sense, right? Like Trey and Bryson, with Nick obviously in the 2 spot right now, I think that's phenomenal. To think about Trey and Nick in the 1-2 spot, I think that's absolutely phenomenal. Like that to me right now, I think like if Trey gets hot, like those are your 2 best, like that could be your 2 best hitters right there. And those are the 2 guys that are going to get the most hits, right? At the top of the order there. And then of course you have Bryce and you got Schwarber and JT to be the RBI guys. And of course, Alec Boehm when he comes back as well. Like those are your RBI guys. Like that's the way the lineup I think should be constructed. I mean, you guys tell me, but that's just my opinion. Like I want to see Schwarber where he maximizes his value the best. And to me, that would be the 5th spot. I just think that's the spot for him. And we know obviously like the leadoff spot, he's done his most damage from the leadoff spot in his career. In his career, he's hit 81 home runs from the leadoff spot, I believe. So like that's where he does his, and it's like the next like closest like spot in the like is not even close. So like yeah, with Schwarber, there we go. Yeah. Oh, wait, I almost had it. There it is. Yeah, so over the course of his career in his batting spot, from the first spot, from the leadoff spot, he's hit 81 home runs in the leadoff spot. The next closest he has is the second spot in the batting order, 35. So obviously he's done his most damage from the leadoff spot in his career, right? That's what he's known for. And that's what he apparently likes to do. So that's what we're going to expect. And of course for June, like, especially if Schwarber's going to get going here, like, yes, you're going to leave him where if he's playing well, you're not going to change it, right? Like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? Like, that's what Rob's going to do. And and of course, like, obviously I hope he gets on a June, I hope it's Schwarber Fest again for June here. Like that's what we all want to see. And that's what we all expect from Schwarber, right? Like he's already got 15 home runs this year. He's on pace for over 40 again. Like, and he's probably going to he's going to get to 40 home runs again this year. Like Schwarber's going to lead our team in home runs. It's not even a question, right? Like, so he's still going to his home runs, but I'm still pumping the brakes. Like I still need to see, like, he's got to have a good month. Like last year, for instance, like if you go back to last year, like how good he did during June last year. And like, that was a different June, right? Because Bryce gets hurt, right? And he's out now. And you need somebody to pick up the slack with Nick playing as bad as he was at that point. And of course, Schwarber batted 270. All right. So he batted 272 and hit 12 home runs last June. Like, obviously that's a whole 100 points better than what he's batting right now this season. So like, that's like pretty significant production. And he won Player of the Month and he was National League Player of the Month last June. So like works, like I think everyone's just automatically expecting him to have the same type of June like he has the last 2 years. And granted, he's had 2 of the best Junes that we've seen, 2 of the best months that especially the 2021 year with the Nationals. That was just absolutely insanity what he did. I think he had like 16 home runs in the month or something like that. I mean, it was just absolutely insane. But yeah, like this guy, like this is what he's known for. This is what he's gonna hit his home runs like he always does, and that's what he's about to do now. But yeah, like I want to see, like, just with a guy that is batting 171 right now, like he's still not hitting great right now. I mean, over his last couple, like over the last 2 weeks, he's still 7 for 50. Like, I mean, like that's the thing. Like, there's like Schwarber's still got a big hole to climb out of. Like, yes, but now, granted, I think the big thing with Schwarber this year that the other big positive that we can say is that he's been walking a lot, right? And like that's something that I think a lot of people probably aren't. If you're not watching the Phillies, like Schwarber's walking, he's batting 171. You're telling me he's like top 10 in walk rate in the league. Like he's even close to top 5. Like he's in the top 10 right now in walk rate in the league right now. So, which is like crazy because the only thing he does is hit a home run or walk. That's what he seems to do, right? Like that's pretty much what you're going to get with Schwarber. Because obviously the 171 batting average, like that can't continue. And it's like, you just don't expect it to be that low. Cause that's just for an MLB hitter to be batting 171 is just, but I think you're just going to see that more with these power hitters in terms of the MLB these days. You're seeing a lot of guys like that are hitting around the 200 or under 200 right now. Even Nick Maton, he's batting 167 right now. And he's starting for the Tigers. Like obviously the Tigers aren't good, but like a lot of these, like so many of these guys are batting terrible batting averages, but that's just the way the MLB is now. Like they're just not going to care as much about the batting averages, more so about situational hitting, rather than overall, batting average, which is crazy to think, but that's just where we are now because that's why you're seeing all these numbers and why these guys are playing, with numbers these bad in terms of batting average. So I just want to see that Schwarber can really just put together a good month. I mean, the home runs are going to be there. We know that, but like I need to see him be consistent. Like he needs to be consistent. We need to see the average get raised. Like it's got to get back up to around 200. If he gets up to around 2, all right. So I'll say this. How about I say this to the poll question tonight? If Schwarber can get up to around 2, if he can get up back to 200 average by the end of June, then I'm okay with him being in the leadoff spot going forward for at least, until we need to get him out of there when he goes on a slump or something like that. But yeah, if he can turn around this month and really put together like a solid month where we see actual growth in terms of his overall production over the course of like actual weeks instead of just like a couple days, then okay, then yes, if that's where he's doing his best damage right now, then yes, leave him at that spot. That's what's going to give us the best chance to win. Then let's do that. So I hope so. I hope that's the case because we need him to. And like with Bryce, like Bryce is obviously going to get the home runs going. I'm not worried about Bryce. Like and Bryce and Trey, I'm like Trey's going to get it going. Obviously last night, like let's hope he can continue to do that. I still got to see if okay, so we're still 1-0 right now. All right, I'm still checking right here. Okay, cool. But yeah, so like with Schwarber, so I pretty much talked about Schwarber here, but so let's see what they can do, right? Like this is a guy that we know can do this, and I want to see what he can do in the going forward here in June, and let's see if we can keep him in that spot. Let's see if we can get all these guys going here and just play consistent baseball. I mean, we're not expecting the Phillies to win we're not asking for that. We just but you just got to be able to put together solid games every time. Like the offense, like you just want to see the hits there. Guys are hitting the ball, like going the other way. Like that's what you want to see. And from the Phillies right now, like I think no guy has looked better at this point in the season than Nick Castellanos right now, right? Like Nick Castellanos, the way he has played this year this is the guy that we knew where we were hoping that we were going to get 2 off seasons ago. Like Nick Castellanos, like when we going back 2 off seasons ago, like that was like when the Phillies, they were ready to spend. Like this is like we got Bryce now, like let's go get Bryce some help. And going out and get Schwarber first, that was big. I loved the Schwarber signing at the time, but then like once Nick, like there were always rumors that we were going to get Nick, but like with Nick, like he was signed so late in the process, like, and there wasn't a lot of talk with like where he would go. And I think at one point Heyman like even tweeted out he was going, I forget where he said, it wasn't an Arson Judge thing, but it was like something like, I think it was premature that like Nick was going somewhere, but then obviously ended up going to Philly. And I was surprised by that, but I was so excited because watching Nick back in 2021, when he was on the Cincinnati Reds, like 34 home runs, 309 average, 100 RBIs, silver slugger, all-star, top 10 in MVP voting. Like that guy, like he just like I watched him a lot that season. Like he just hit the ball the other way. Like I mean, he just played with a swagger to him, and it was like played with an attitude and just literally carried that team throughout the season. I mean, he was the best player on the Cincinnati Reds in 2021. I mean, there's no question. He was the catalyst of that offense. So, yo, what's up, Tom? Oh, there he is. There's the man himself. What's going on, Tommy? Go Phils. Yeah. So, that was such a big signing. I thought at that point, like that was the one I was really excited for. And now going into it, looking at looking at where he went, going into last season, just did not ever put it together, right? And of course, like I said before, we heard there was a possible wrist injury that happened. He never looked right all season. And of course, when he had that spat with Salisbury and then in the clubhouse, and just like never seemed to get in sync last year, right? He just never seemed to put it all together, and just was not the player that he's been over the course of his career. I mean, he's a career 280 hitter, but over the last couple of years, I mean, this guy has been a guy that consistently hits 300, around 300, puts up 25 home runs, 80, 90 RBIs, just consistent production that he's put up. And like, what you're going to get from Nick, and a guy that hits a lot of doubles, a lot of extra base hits, hits the other way a lot when he's on. Like, I mean, the guy can just put it all over the field. And that's what he's doing now, especially. I mean, my God, over his last 5 games, that's what I was watching a pregame live right before. Let me pull up the stats so I have it. Over his last 5 games, right, Nick is just absolutely killing it. And of course, I just went all the way. There we go. Yeah. So over his last 5 games, like now we think Schwarber's going to be Mr. It's Schwarber Fest June, right? But Nick Castellanos might be Mr. June right now. I mean, he might be the guy that carries us over in June right now. Right now, Nick Castellanos, since June 1st, over his 5-game hitting streak right now, batting .619, he's got 13 hits over his last 5 games. That's a career high for him in any 5-game stretch over his career right now. That's where he's at right now. So 2 home runs, obviously, against the Nationals, 7 RBIs, 2 doubles, 2 walks, 9 singles. Absolutely just hitting the ball, right? Like that's what he's doing. He's just hitting the ball. And that's what you love to see. And batting .319 right now, 5th in the league right now. At this point in the season, through 61 games, this is the highest average he's ever had through this point in the season in his career right now. That's why that was like my favorite stat today. I saw so that just tells you right now, that's how well Nick Castellanos is playing. Like this is the guy that we envisioned. This is the guy that we wanted to see when we signed him. And he's been doing it literally since the start of the season. I mean, he has been our best hitter, our most consistent hitter. He's 2nd in the league in multi-hit games right now, too. I mean, this is a guy that has just been absolutely consistent, right? Like the one guy that you can point to that actually has been consistent in the Phillies lineup, it's been Nick Castellanos. Like, and last year, like the way he was striking out like that, the biggest thing like with Nick Castellanos, right? He's a guy, he swings the bat. He's a guy that swings. He's going to attack. Like he's not a guy that's like, he doesn't draw a lot of walks. But he's going to strike out a lot because he's a guy that likes to go up there. He wants to swing. He wants to hit the ball. He's a guy that likes to hit, and he wants to go hit. So that's what he does. And that's his approach last year at the plate, though, was just horrendous so much of the time. That was like, and with Trey this year, it was like the same thing, like just that low outside breaking ball slider, especially the slider, was just like automatic out every single time. Like you get him in the 1-2 count, like they were getting in so many 0-2 counts. I think that was the big thing. It was like the 0-2 counts that Nick was getting into so many times last year and Trey was getting into so many times this year to start the year. Like that just puts you in a hole that you always feel like you have to fight out of, right? Like that's like, you're always trying to like, okay, now you got to protect. You can't even like, you're not even swinging. You're not swinging your swing at that point because it's defensive swing every time, right? You're just trying to like hopefully make contact and survive, or put something in play and hope for the best. But these guys, when you're in defensive swing posture, 8 out of 10 times when you're going up there, that's not going to lead to any success. Like, of course not. How can it? So just you see the difference in his approach. Nick messing it up. Did he make it? Might have made an error. Well, we're talking about his hitting right now. See, so hitting he is known for. Obviously, his defense, not so much. Now, if it was a ball over his head, I understand that because the only play that he can make is that diving, sliding catch, going forward. That's the only play I've ever seen him make in the outfield. Anything that go over his head, not so much. So hey, that's let me see here. Did they score from that? Oh, let's see. No, okay. Let me let me pull up the game real quick. Let me see. I just want to see, where are we right now? Fast game, huh? Okay, so where are we at? Fifth inning already. Jeez, wait. Jeez, okay, it's been an hour. All right, we're already in the fifth inning. Wow, jeez. Yeah. 1-0. Yeah, it's okay. Oh, crap. All right. One out, first and second. Oof. And of course, Miguel Cabrera doubles. Yeah. There you go. That's typical right there. Why's out the deep center field? Okay. All right. Well, damn, that is a quick game. Gosh, it's going to be almost done by the time I get done this show. All right. Yeah. But, yeah. So with, like I said before, with the, with Schwarber, I just want to see him. I'm sorry. Yeah, we already talked about this. I'm going back to Nick. I'm sorry. I'm looking at the tagline again. But yeah, so with Nick, yeah, just that was his problem last year, right? Like chasing that, being defensive and chasing that low and away pitch all the time. But now this year, like you see the patience, like getting a lot more friendlier counts, waiting, like not swinging over aggressively, like just being a little more patient because so much of the time, like, and with Schwarber especially too, and like just his Reese, for example, has been like he drives me nuts sometimes because their patience at the plate drives you nuts. Like they're too patient, right? Like too many times they watch too many good pitches go by, and it's like, you lose your mind, you pull your hair out. It's like, why didn't you swing at that one? Now you got to swing at the crap pitch because you should have swung at that one. And you see that, you just saw that from Nick so many times. Like you just see that from those guys. Like Nick, you don't see that as much from. Like he's a guy that's like first pitch swinging. Like it's the exact opposite. But definitely approach that you can work with though. So, and the way Nick is hitting right now, it's just absolutely fun to see. Like Nick is such an interesting guy. He just seems like an interesting guy. I would love to sit down and have a conversation with Nick, like, which I don't think he would be willing to do because he just, I don't know about that, but yeah, I mean, he was so nice. The one time I went to the game that I will say about Nick, like he was playing catch with the kids in between inning when I was out in left field and just, throwing the ball to everybody and, just always waving to the crowd, so, just seemed like a good guy, a guy that you want to root for, and just has been a really good player for a long time now. And it's just great to see that he has been our best hitter so far this year. I mean, he really has been. And obviously, like 7 home runs, like, he's hit 2, he just hit 2 of those in one game, and didn't really hit a home run for a couple weeks, basically. So, yeah, like the home runs are going to come. Like, I mean, the biggest thing with Nick this year was just get him back to hitting. Like, as long as the ball, like that was it. It took him a while to hit a home run this year, but like as long as he's hitting the ball and like how many he had like 9 doubles before he hit a home run this year, right? Like he was hitting doubles like that first like series, like he was the one that was hitting. So and he's been doing that this whole year, and you see like he's top 5 in doubles right now, top 5 in average. So great to see. And I love the fact that he got moved up to the 2 spot. I mean, hey, like if that's where a guy is going to just be getting hits, like, and that's a guy like Nick, who is going to be an RBI guy. And just, that's a guy that you need to have a guy that in that spot that can hit the ball to any part of the field, right? Like that just opens up so much for Bryce coming up after him. Like, and Bryce who does the exact same thing. When you have 2 guys that can just hit it to any part of the field, up at the top of your lineup there, and of course with Schwarber, who can just hit it out at any point. That's going to be tough for any team to deal with, man. Like that's really going to be tough. So, oh God, Walker trade, I hope. Oh God, what happened? Let's see. Oh, his base is loaded. Okay, nice. So let's see here. Did he walk in a run? My thing's not loading. Okay, or did he just walk to load the bases? Okay, that's what it is. Okay. Oh, great. Yeah, wonderful. Here we go. Yeah, see, fifth inning. They can't make it past the 5th inning. I don't know what it is with this team. Not one guy. 5th inning, I don't know what it is. Like this, all of a sudden, we got to have a meltdown. Yeah, you go for it. Yeah, he's throwing a no-hitter, and now we're getting to this crap. It's just, yeah, I mean, hey, hopefully you get out of it, but like, I don't know. I don't feel great. either. So, I don't know. This is great. Yeah, I mean, whatever, man. Oh God. All right, Phillies. Let's get it together here. So, all right. Well, I'll say a prayer and hopefully you can come out of it after this. But yeah, with the way that Nick has been playing, so yeah, like I said, really the big thing with Nick, the big question with him, right? Like the Phillies all-star at this point, like really nobody has really stuck out. Like besides Nick. I mean, like, you can't point to anybody else on the Phillies right now. Alvarado looked like he was going to be an all-star this year, the way he started the year. Unfortunately, but hopefully he looks like he's about to be coming back. So that's big for the Phillies bullpen with Alvarado coming back, especially if we're going to start hitting like this. And, we don't have to put him in safe situations so much, especially when he's coming off the injured list. That's going to be really important. So like I said, like the Phillies offense, like this is what they're built for. Like they're built to do this. Like this is what they got to do. So they got to be able to carry us like through stretches. Like, and this is the time of year where they got to do it. And this is what they usually typically do. So let's hope they can do it, man, because I really want to see the Phillies. I really want to see the offense get going. The Phillies are at their best when they're hitting bombs, and when they're just everybody's hitting together. Like that's when this team plays the best, when everybody's contributing. Like when they get all going and like just the energy and the just the camaraderie takes over for them. Like you really can't beat that team. Like and we saw it last year. Like when they all play together, when they all get that just all the swag going together. Like man, they're as tough as nails to beat. So. It's going to be really great to see, hopefully, going forward here, because they got a nice test coming up here. Like they got a good balance of games here, because they obviously with the Tigers, like beat the crap out of the Tigers. Expect them to do that, but going forward here with the Braves, not the Braves. I'm sorry, they're coming up later after that with the Dodgers next, and then the Diamondbacks. The two top teams in the NL West, and the way the Diamondbacks have been looking, young team, another young ascending team with just great young talent. Zach Gallen and Corbin Carroll there have just been absolutely phenomenal. Corbin Carroll looks like he's going to run away with the Rookie of the Year award right now, the way he's been playing for them, and they look like a playoff team right now. I mean, it's just they have a lot of young talent, and they're that's going to be a good test for us. I mean, because we have the veteran team, they have the young team, and like that's a team like the Phillies should be able to beat, but. We're going to Arizona, and for some reason we don't play well in Arizona. So that series is not looking forward to as much. The Dodgers series, obviously, of course, coming up next, though. That's where they're coming to Philly now. Like obviously, what happened last time we were out in LA, that can't happen in Philly this time. That like can't let that happen at home. And I think with the mindset that Phillies are in, I think I have definitely a prediction that I think somebody is going to get going against the Dodgers. I just have a feeling somebody is just because I know we haven't said his name over the last couple of weeks. But it's been a little bit of a struggle. It's been a little bit of a slump Bryce has for the last 2 weeks. He finally got his first RBI with runner in scoring position since May 20th. So that was good last night, but he went 2 for 4 again. So, I mean, Bryce is going to get his hits, and he's going to be fine. Oh, wow. Julio Reyes is supposed to pitch Saturday. How about that? Okay. All right, Nicole. Okay. Well, it's going to be a rough first game for him to come back to with the Phillies hitting as well as they are right now, right? Let's hope so, because I want to put the hurt on the Dodgers after that last game. I mean, after that last series. And hey, Schwarber, little shout out to Schwarber here. You sucked last time we were in LA. Couldn't buy a hit. So make me my words this time against LA when they come here, and you can be in that leadoff spot going forward. Do it against the Dodgers, and then we'll talk next week. All right, I'll talk to Schwarber again next week through here, obviously, because I'm not actually going to talk to him, but wish I would. But so hopefully maybe he'll listen to this. Maybe I'll send it to him. So some positive encouragement for him. But so hopefully the Phillies, like I said, they got a good test coming up here. Let's finish off the Tigers here tonight and tomorrow, and then get into the real test against the Dodgers and Diamondbacks, and then we have the A's, and then the Braves are after that. So we got a good stretch here coming up in June. And Schwarber wants to have Schwarber Fest in June. He's going to have some good teams he's going to have to do it against. So, let's hope he does, because it's going to be a fun month, I think, for the Phillies. I hope so. I think this is just the start of the turnaround with the offense here, and starting pitching, I'm not as confident still. I'm still not going to go out on a whim and say I believe in them yet, but hey, Kyle's the only one with a hit right now. Well, that's the Phillies for you. So at least it was a home run. So but of course the solo, so it's leading off, of course, but I just that's the Phillies. So they're waiting. That's the Phillies. Like, it's not about how you start, it's about how you finish, for the Phillies. And that seems to be the Phillies motto, don't worry how we start the season, worry how we finish the season, but don't worry how we start the game, worry how we finish the game. So yeah, this the Phillies way. They just have to put themselves in a hole, and then they always seem to have to dig it out. So, but yeah, man, I hope the Phillies can pull it out tonight, because that would be great. And then let me just do one thing. Let me pull up my fantasy things here. I'm almost already done. 6 minutes already. I'm already almost done. How about that? Okay. All right. So also too, just wanted to give a quick shout out to my dad actually tonight. He's definitely one of my biggest supporters and sponsors here. So I just wanted to give him a shout out and to his business. He works for Mass Mutual, and just wanted to, if anybody for life, disability insurance, college, retirement planning, estate, tax planning, investments, financial professional, he can give you the guidance that you need. That's my dad, Bruce. And I'll put his info in the comments, his contact. But yeah, just give a shout out to my dad there. I'll do another thing for him next week going forward. But yeah, just want to give him a shout out tonight as well. So thank you, Pops. And then let's get into my fantasy stats, starts and sits of the week. Now, the one guy I said I was going to talk about him. If we got to June and he was still doing what he's doing, and we're at June, and now he's not batting 400, but he's batting 399, and that's Luis Suarez. And we're talking about a guy now we really have to start paying attention to, because in the history of baseball, hitting 400 in a season is literally one of the most difficult achievements that you can hope to ever achieve, because the last guy that actually did hit 400 in a season was Ted Williams in 1941. Still the last guy to hit 400 in a season was during World War II, was back then. So that's how long it's been. So that's something like we've had guys that have gotten close. Tony Gwynn's gotten close, but really no one has ever truly had a legitimate shot at 400 in a season realistically. Since literally the days of Ted Williams and Joe DiMaggio, like those guys. So in his first 61 games since 1941, Luis Suarez, he's 8th all time in batting average up at this point through 61 games in a season. And going back, I just want to give a shout out to Chipper Jones. I remember this too, because this was in 2008, and I remember how good to the year he started off. That was obviously the Phillies World Series year, but Chipper Jones through his first 60 games in 2008 was batting .418, and that was the most through a hitter's first 60 games since 1941 when Ted Williams was batting 400. So yeah, Chipper, shout out to Chipper, man. He's still one of my favorite players. Even as Braves, he was a Philly killer. I was a Philly killer, but just one of my favorite players to watch. He was one of my favorite players to ever watch. So. So Luis Suarez, man, if you're not looking at this guy in fantasy right now, he's still cheap to get. If you want a guy that's just going to give you hits, this is a guy that's just going to give. Last night 3 for 4, two RBIs again. All this guy does is hit. This guy he just hits. That's all he does. And he the next closest guy in the league batting average. He's batting 399. The next closest guy is Bo Bichette at 336. He's making a joke of the batting title race right now. Obviously, when you're batting 399, you're obviously making a joke of it because no one else is going to be close. So, let's, I'm going to keep an eye on this guy. Luis Suarez, man, if you don't know this guy, start paying attention to this dude down in Miami, because this guy is like a modern day Tony Gwynn, the way this guy can hit. It's special to watch a guy that can hit that good. He doesn't hit he's not a home run hitter, right? That's why he's not a bigger name, because he's not hitting 20 home runs. He doesn't have 20 home runs right now. But when you're batting 399 and it's just special to watch when a guy you just watch the at-bats and be able to see how good a guy like that can be. It's pretty cool to see. So yeah, I don't care that he's on the Marlins. I'll root for a guy to do something like that. That's just something that as a baseball fan, you're never going to expect to see somebody in their lifetime hit 400 in a season. That's just in today's MLB, that's impossible. It's just as impossible, close to impossible as a 56 game hitting streak, right? That's basically in the same realm, right? And that's over the course of a full season to hit 400 is, is it's just, you can't even think of it to be possible. But hey, at this point, I mean, a third of the way through the season, the guy's hitting 399, he's hitting 400. So yeah, let's see if we can continue. That's awesome to see for him. And another big thing, just right real quick before we get here, want to highlight one series for the next couple nights. Dodgers, Cincinnati. Elliot De La Cruz, number one prospect coming up for Cincinnati. Going to be big time for them. Huge ad, batting fourth tonight. And then also, too, look at the Dodgers as well. Freddie Freeman, a little cheap right now, coming off a little bit of a slump. Look for him to get back going. Look for him to get it going again as well. But yeah, definitely look at the Dodgers Cincinnati series. Elliot De La Cruz, a lot of hype around him coming up, and yeah, just gonna be a great player. A lot of hype, and yeah, it's gonna be great to see. So hopefully some positivity for the Reds. They need some. So that's been the Strike Zone this week. Thank you guys for tuning in again, as always. Love talking to you guys. Love talking to the Phillies, and hopefully they can pull. Hopefully the Phillies can pull this one out. That would be great. So and hopefully somebody besides Schwarber can get a hit. So that would be wonderful. And till next week, guys, go Phils, and I'll see you. Take care.